Hi, good afternoon. It's Councillor Glen, and coming to you a little bit later than usual today. I'll tell you why in a sec. First of all, where I am at Pioneer Plains Park in Jackson Trails on Stittsville Main Street near Kimpton. There's a market going on here today until 2 p.m. I was just talking to Skyla, the organizer. Obviously they had some rain earlier today, but it's starting to clear and the vendors will be here till 2 o'clock p.m. Some food vendors, some craft vendors. Good thing to check out if you have time this afternoon. I'm late today because I was at 9 Run earlier. Today, 9 Run, the 10K race happened in person. It was great to be able to welcome that race back to Stittsville. Usually they have a half marathon, a full marathon, a huge race. This year they did the 10K in person after missing it last year due to the pandemic, and just great to see so many racers on Abbott Street. The money raised goes towards the First Responders Foundation. This is a charity that was started by a Stittsville resident to help provide mental health support and services to our first responders. So a really good cause, and great to have 9 Run back. It rained, it delayed the race, delayed my morning as well, but everything got underway, and great to see the race and some activities back here in Stittsville. I've got some more about upcoming activities in a sec, but I've got a whole bunch of things I wanted to remind you about. First of all, with the rain, there is some localized flooding happening. Some streets that are getting very wet because catch basins are blocked. So a couple things: if you're able to, just go out with a rake and clear the catch basin in front of your home. Keep that clear so the water can drain out. Water will accumulate when we have heavy rain like that. What you want to watch for is if it's not draining. If the water levels aren't going down, then please call 311 and we can have the city come out and check out and make sure that drain isn't blocked. But first step would always be if you can go out on your own and clear those leaves out of the way. That can usually make a quick difference. An update on COVID: if you check my website or go to ottawapublichealth.ca, there is a letter there from Dr. Vera Etches to parents, and some really important updates for parents and what's happening in schools, including how Ottawa Public Health is preparing for the eventual approval of COVID-19 vaccinations for kids. Kids age 5 to 11, there's 77,000 kids in that age group in our community, and as soon as the federal government and the provincial government give the green light, Ottawa Public Health is ready to go to roll out vaccines to people in our community and get our kids vaccinated. So some good information there. Also some reminders about how you can help to stop the spread of COVID outside of school, so limiting extracurricular activities like sleepovers and so on, trying to keep gatherings with kids as small as possible. Some really good information there if you have time to check it out. Let's look back at the past week, a few things. We have a new development application that's been posted. There's information on my website for 37 Wildpine. This is at the end of Wildpine where the cul-de-sac is. And part of it that's interesting is it would finally connect Ravenscroft and Wildpine. Going back, I think about 20 years, the city always had a plan to connect those two streets. They're cul-de-sacs, dead end right now, and by connecting them, it makes it easier for school buses and garbage trucks and snowplows. There is a housing development that's being proposed there. We just got the application this week, so I haven't had a chance to go through it, but I have heard from some residents, and obviously need to do some good scrutiny on that project. We will be doing a public meeting as well later on in the fall, probably in November or early December, so watch for that. MPP Goldie Gamari has launched a petition for parents of kids who go to Paul Desmarais or who will be going to Paul Desmarais. Si tu as un élève qui va aux écoles francophones catholiques, MPP Goldie Gamari has a petition to tell the province how important it is to fund expansion of that school. They're very close to capacity right now. I had a few questions about that. We're continuing to have some traffic issues near the school in the afternoon. The school is planning to add a second bus loop to the school on the east side that would connect to Robert Grant Avenue once Robert Grant is built. And we also, in the meantime, because that's still a couple years, 2 or 3 years away, in the meantime, we also have bylaw enforcement going out and making sure that people who are parked near the school at pickup times are done so legally. So not in the no stopping zone, not in the no parking zone. And when bylaw have gone out and handed out tickets, that's a really good way to keep traffic flowing and also to increase safety for students and really everyone who's using those roads around there. I posted on my website this week an update on fall tree planting in Stittsville. There are over 300 trees being planted this fall at a number of locations, a lot over at Ladybird Park where they're restoring some trees lost to the emerald ash borer, but also a lot of trees on front lawns across the community. We've really been happy with the response from Stittsville residents to participate in the Trees for Trust program. If you'd like more information about that, go onto my website or go to ottawa.ca and search for Trees for Trust. It's a way that you can get a free city tree for your front yard, and we've got over 100 of those going out to our community this year, which is pretty incredible. I also went to visit the grand opening of Nobility Performance. It's a new facility on Ivor Road. They've got a number of therapy-based practices there, some chiropractor, massage therapy, physiotherapy. So congratulations to Nobility Performance and the partners there for their grand opening. Really good to have you in our community. A reminder about dog waste and dogs all over our community, but I want to focus in on schools. Schoolyards usually have a no dogs policy, so just asking for residents for your cooperation. Please don't bring your dog onto school property, into the school yards and fields. And if you must, at least please pick up after your dogs on the school fields. Had a note from one of our local schools about a lot of dog waste that hasn't been picked up in their field where kids play. So please be respectful as a dog owner and pick up after your pet. City Hall, it's been an incredibly busy week. Where should I start? There were three things I wanted to mention. Well, let's go from easiest to hardest. Kanata North at City Council this week, we agreed that instead of having an election for a new councillor in Kanata North, we are going to have a process to accept nominations and appoint a councillor until the end of this term in 2022. The reason for that, partly the cost of the election, it'd be over $500,000, but also just the time frame to actually run a fair election. It would take it until probably January until that new councillor can begin. Speaking from my experience as a new councillor, it takes quite a bit to ramp up to a level where you can be an effective and good councillor. And we're taking a legislative break as of next June or so, leading up to the next election. So I really think we need to make sure whatever councillor is in place there, that they're being set up for success. And by setting up a nomination process, I think it's a much more effective way to get a good councillor for Kanata North and make sure that they can jump right in and get going from the get-go and help out with their community. There is information at ottawa.ca. If you know someone in Kanata North who's interested in this, there's a process for application, and I believe it opens October 25th is the nomination period. We've spent a lot of time at City Hall this week on the official plan. Thursday we went from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Friday we went from 9 a.m. to after 6 p.m. hearing 95 delegations share their comments and feedback about the official plan. We're finalizing this plan this fall. It's a master guide, a document that guides how Ottawa is going to grow over the next 20 or 25 years, how we're going to get from 1 million people today to 1.4 million people in the future. Where are those people going to live? Is it going to be in suburbs? Are we going to expand further out? Are we going to intensify, or is it going to be a mix of both? Really want to thank residents who came out to share their thoughts and comments. We heard from people all over the city, downtown, suburban, rural, young people, old people, homeowners, renters. A really, really interesting discussion. So I want to thank people who took the time to participate. We're going to keep going with that discussion on Monday and possibly Friday as well. It's a really important thing, and at this point, what are we at? I guess we're at 10 to 8, that would be 10 hours, and then 9 to 6 would be another 9 hours. We're 19 hours or so of discussion into that, so a big project, and more to come next week. And then, of course, LRT, I've spoke about this last week. I've shared some information on my website. I think what I'd like to say today is at council, I proposed an investigation into LRT by the Auditor General. I really believe that this is the right route to take. The Auditor General has a broad range of powers that she has to do an investigation. She can interview people under oath. She can compel people to provide documents, not just administration and contractors, but she can also interview and obtain documents from councillors and the mayor as well. She can't investigate directly mayor and councillors, but if she uncovers anything that requires investigation, she can refer that to the Integrity Commissioner or to another level of the justice system, of courts and so on. So that's important. And I think there's a difference between the Auditor General investigation and a judicial inquiry. There's a few differences. There are pros and cons in each. The Auditor General does not interview witnesses in public in a courtroom setting, which is different. I think on the other hand, in her experience, what she shared with us was that can be a positive, because sometimes people are more forthcoming with information when they're not under the glare of a courtroom and the media and so on. That people might be forthcoming or be more willing to share information in that private setting. So there's an advantage there as well. I'm meeting with her next week, and I moved a motion. Council supported it, and I'm going to be speaking with her next week about the scope of her investigation and what some of our expectations are. We did two other things at that council meeting last week that I wanted to highlight. One is that we gave the green light to escalate, to ramp up our legal action against RTG, the group that runs the train. And one of my colleagues, Councillor Eglai, also introduced, or he gave a direction to staff. There's a report that we've commissioned looking into the train and the issues with the train. It's called the Mott-McDonald Report. He made a direction to staff that be released to the public as soon as it's published, as soon as it's available. That was going to be something kept confidential as part of the legal process, but I think it's the right thing to do to make that information public. So as soon as I have that available, I'll share it with residents as well. There's been a tradition of a lack of transparency around the LRT procurements. A lot of that is due to the P3 arrangements. I don't think that's right, but it's also not an easy thing to just remove ourselves from. So we're taking steps in order to make this as transparent as possible and try to do a reset in terms of the information that we're able to share with residents. You should have all the information that we do, and that's what I'm committed to working towards achieving. I'm sure I'll talk more about LRT next week and the week after that and the week after that. We're all focused on getting the train back up and running and making sure there's a reliable system. On the train, we did get a back to service plan submitted to the city on Friday. I don't have information about that yet, but we are getting an update. It looks like on Monday next week, and we have a transit commission next week as well. So I'll share any relevant information that we get next week about the return to service for the train. I know for Stittsville residents who rely on buses and train to get downtown, these past 3 or 4 weeks have been pretty brutal for you. So, again, I want to apologize for this service. It's not what you deserve, and it's not what we want to give you as a city as well. If we can, let's turn ahead to what's coming up this week. I mentioned the market here at Pioneer Plains Park continues to 2 p.m. today. If you'd like some free reflective gear, free lights for your bicycle, come meet me and Safer Roads Ottawa this afternoon starting at 3 p.m. at Village Square Park. That's the train park at Abbott and Stittsville, Maine. We'll be there at 3 p.m. On October 24th, I think that's next Sunday, there is a hazardous waste depot happening at the Westbrook Snow Dump just off of Carp Road, almost at the highway there. On October 25th, we have 2 things. We're participating in a budget workshop, budget consultation meeting with some of my council colleagues in the West End. That'll be by Zoom. And then we're also doing a workshop, a webinar with Jibby King. Jibby is a Stittsville resident. She's going to be giving us a workshop, a webinar about Indigeneity in Canada, talking about colonialism, talking about reconciliation. I'm really looking forward to that. October 26th, we have our Councillor Chat. So I think that's 7 to 8 p.m. on Zoom and on Facebook. Come and ask me a question. It's kind of an extended version of one of these, but we like to get residents involved with your questions as well. And then I'll be giving some details. We're going to do a Halloween giveaway coming up towards the end of the month. So I'll share some information about that next week. And a traffic alert, if you are someone who uses the highway, the Queensway, to get towards downtown or east of here, the 417, there'll be some closures, lane closures, weeknights till mid-November. They're doing rehabilitation of the Marianne Wilkinson Pedestrian Bridge just east of Kanata Avenue. There's some on-ramp lane closures. There's also some lane closures on the highway. And the bridge itself will be closed overnight for a number of days. There's some signage posted, but if that's a bridge you use to get across the highway as a pedestrian or cyclist, just a heads up. And if the Queensway is a route that you take heading eastbound, there could be some closures between now and mid-November. That's a lot of info for today. I see some comments coming in. I'll have a look at those once I get back home. Hope you, despite the weather, I hope you do get a chance to get out and get some exercise and maybe drop by what's happening here at the market. And I will talk to you next Saturday. Take care. Bye.